What if I told you that there's a secret formula that turned a poor steel worker into one of the richest men in history, and that this same formula has created more millionaires than any other philosophy in history? In 1908, a young journalist sat across from Andrew Carnegie, the world's richest man. Carnegie was about to share something extraordinary, a success formula he'd discovered by studying the wealthiest people of his era. But there was a catch. Carnegie gave the journalist just 60 seconds to accept a 20-year assignment with no guarantee of payment. The journalist had to decide in that moment whether to dedicate 2 decades of his life to this mission. He said yes. That journalist was Napoleon Hill. That assignment led to interviews with over 500 millionaires and billionaires, including Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, and Alexander Graham Bell. The result? Think and Grow Rich, a book that sold over 100 million copies and changed more lives than perhaps any other success book ever written. Today, I'm going to break down the exact formula these titans of industry used to build their empires. And here's what's fascinating. This isn't about luck, inheritance, or being in the right place at the right time. It's about a specific mental process that anyone can use. So grab your notebook, because what you're about to learn could be the turning point in your life. Before we dive in, let me be clear about something. This isn't just another book summary where I skim through some feel-good concepts. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years researching this. He interviewed the most successful people of his generation and distilled their secrets into 13 principles. What makes this book different from other success books is that it's based on real research, actual interviews with people who went from nothing to everything. And here's what's incredible. These principles work just as well today as they did in 1937 when the book was published. The technology has changed, the economy has evolved, but human psychology, that's remained remarkably consistent. I'm going to walk you through all 13 principles, but more importantly, I'm going to show you how to actually apply them, because knowing isn't enough. You need a plan of action. Let's get started with the foundation of everything. Principle 1. Desire, the starting point. Hill starts with something that might seem obvious: desire. But he's not talking about casual wanting. He's talking about burning desire, an obsession so powerful it consumes your thoughts. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates this. Edwin C. Barnes had a desire. He wanted to become a business partner with Thomas Edison, not work for Edison, partner with him. Here's the problem. Barnes was broke, completely broke. He couldn't even afford train fare to Edison's lab in New Jersey, so he hopped on a freight train like a hobo. When he arrived at Edison's office, he looked like a tramp. Edison's assistants wanted to throw him out, but Edison saw something in Barnes' eyes, that burning desire. So he gave him a job, the lowest position available, at the lowest wages. Did Barnes give up? No. He kept his desire burning. He visualized himself as Edison's partner every single day. Years passed. Then one day, Edison invented the Edison dictating machine. His salespeople didn't believe in it. They thought it wouldn't sell. But Barnes saw his opportunity. He knew he could sell it. He convinced Edison to let him try, and he sold those machines like crazy, became so successful that Edison made him an official partner. That's the power of burning desire. Now here's the key Hill teaches. You must be definite about what you want. Vague wishes don't work. I want to be rich is useless, but I want to earn $100,000 by December 31st next year. That's specific. That's definite. The 6 steps to turn desire into reality. Fix the exact amount of money you desire. Be specific to the dollar. Determine exactly what you'll give in return. There's no such thing as something for nothing. Establish a definite date when you intend to possess this money. Create a definite plan and begin at once, whether you're ready or not. Write it all out, the amount, the deadline, what you'll give, and your plan. Read this statement aloud twice daily, once before bed, once after waking. This isn't visualization mumbo-jumbo. This is programming your subconscious mind to work on your goal 24/7, even while you sleep. Principle 2. Faith, visualization, and belief. Now here's where it gets interesting. You can have desire, but without faith, it's powerless. Hill defines faith as visualization of and belief in attainment of desire. Let me share one of the most powerful stories from the book, the story of Hill himself. When Hill was young, everyone told him he was destined to fail because he was born into poverty. But his stepmother said something different. She told him he had a brilliant mind and would become a great writer. Hill visualized himself as a successful author every single day. He had no evidence, no connections, no money, just faith. That faith drove him to accept Carnegie's challenge. That faith kept him going through 20 years of research with no guaranteed payoff. And that faith created the book you're learning about right now, a book that sold over 100 million copies. Here's the formula Hill gives for developing faith. Autosuggestion, talking to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between true and false. It accepts whatever you feed it repeatedly with emotion. This is why reading your definite purpose statement twice daily is crucial. You're reprogramming your mind. Hill tells us to repeat this affirmation. I know that I have the ability to achieve my definite purpose. I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment. I here and now promise to take such action. Sounds simple, right? But here's what most people miss. You must feel it when you say it. Emotion is the fuel that powers faith. Think about it. When you were a kid, if you truly believed you could become an astronaut or a movie star, you acted differently. You studied harder. You practiced more. That belief shaped your actions. Faith works the same way as an adult. When you truly believe you'll achieve your goal, you start making different decisions, taking different actions, spotting opportunities you previously missed. Principle 3. Autosuggestion, the medium for influencing the subconscious. Now we go deeper into how to actually program your mind. Autosuggestion is the bridge between your conscious and subconscious mind. Hill discovered that every thought you think repeatedly becomes impressed upon your subconscious, and your subconscious mind controls your habits, your actions, and ultimately your results. Here's a fascinating example from the book. A man named Michael wanted to become a successful salesman, but he was terrified of rejection. Every morning before work, he would stand in front of his mirror and say, I am a confident, successful salesman. People are happy to meet with me. I provide enormous value. At first, he felt ridiculous. His conscious mind resisted. This is stupid. You're lying to yourself. But he persisted every morning, every evening, with emotion, with conviction. Within months, something shifted. He started actually feeling confident. His posture changed. His tone changed. And yes, his sales results skyrocketed. Hill's method for using autosuggestion. Find a quiet spot where you won't be interrupted. Read your written statement of desire, your definite purpose. As you read, see yourself already in possession of the money. Feel the emotions of already having it. Repeat morning and night until it becomes habit. The key is mixing emotion with your statements. Thoughts mixed with emotion become a powerful force. Most people fail at this because they just mouth the words without feeling. That's like planting seeds in concrete. Nothing will grow. Principle 4. Specialized knowledge. Here's something that might surprise you. Hill says that general knowledge is practically useless when it comes to accumulating wealth. Henry Ford, during a lawsuit, was called ignorant by lawyers because he couldn't answer basic history questions. Ford's response was legendary. He said, "I have a row of electric push buttons on my desk. If I want to know something, I push a button and call someone who does know. Why should I clutter my mind with general knowledge when I have people around me who can supply any knowledge I need?" That's specialized knowledge in action. You don't need to know everything. You need to know one thing exceptionally well, or you need to know how to organize the knowledge of others. The two types of knowledge: general knowledge, broad but shallow, almost worthless for making money; specialized knowledge, deep expertise in a specific area, extremely valuable. But here's the catch: specialized knowledge is only powerful when it's organized and applied towards a definite purpose. Hill gives an example of a college graduate who spent 4 years studying law but never practiced. That knowledge earned him nothing. Meanwhile, a woman with just a high school education organized her knowledge of customer service into a training program and made millions. How to acquire specialized knowledge. Identify what knowledge you need for your definite purpose. Determine where to get it: schools, books, courses, mentors, experience. Create a continuous learning plan. The most successful people never stop learning. Apply what you learn immediately. Knowledge unused is knowledge wasted. Principle 5. Imagination. Hill says that imagination is literally the workshop where all plans are created. Nothing exists in the physical world that wasn't first created in imagination. There are two forms of imagination. One, synthetic imagination, rearranging old ideas into new combinations. Two, creative imagination, receiving hunches and inspirations from infinite intelligence. Let me share a story that demonstrates the power of imagination. Asa Candler bought the formula for Coca-Cola for $2,300. That formula was the specialized knowledge, but it was his imagination that turned it into billions of dollars. He imagined Coca-Cola in every restaurant, every store, every home in America. He imagined the distinctive bottle shape that people could recognize even in the dark. He imagined marketing campaigns that would make it the world's most recognized brand. The formula was the same, but the imagination, that's what created the empire. Here's another example Hill shares. A man who worked in a patent office was constantly exposed to new inventions. One day, he imagined creating a business that helped inventors protect and market their ideas. He used his imagination to see the opportunity right in front of him. That business made him wealthy. How to develop your imagination. Take time for solitude. Your best ideas come when your mind is quiet. Write down ideas immediately. Keep a notebook everywhere you go. Ask what-if questions. What if I combined X with Y? What if I did the opposite? Study successful people in your field. How did they use imagination? Create a mastermind group. We'll cover this later. Imagination multiplies in group settings. The Wright brothers imagined humans flying before anyone believed it possible. Walt Disney imagined an entertainment empire when people called him crazy. Steve Jobs imagined a computer in every home when computers filled entire rooms. Your imagination is your most powerful tool. It costs nothing, requires no permission, and has no limits except those you place on it. Principle 6. Organized planning. This is where desire meets reality. You need a plan, and that plan must be organized. Hill says that most people fail because they don't have a definite plan or they give up at the first sign of defeat. But successful people create plans, and if one fails, they immediately create another and another until they find one that works. The 4 steps to organized planning. Ally yourself with a group of people you need to create and carry out your plan, the Mastermind principle. Determine what you can offer in return for their cooperation. Meet with your group at least twice weekly until you've perfected your plan. Maintain perfect harmony with every member of your group. Let me tell you about a man Hill interviewed who used this principle brilliantly. He wanted to start a business but had no capital, so he organized a plan. He identified 3 people with skills he needed: a marketer, an operations person, and someone with connections to investors. He offered each of them equity in the future business instead of salary. They met every Tuesday and Thursday evening for months, refining their plan. They maintained harmony by establishing clear roles and honest communication. Within 18 months, they built a $1 million business. Hill's formula for personal achievement planning. QQS formula. Quality of service you render, quantity of service you give, spirit of service, your attitude. If you want to increase your income, you must increase at least one of these 3 factors. Hill also identifies the major causes of failure in leadership. Inability to organize details. Successful leaders organize, systematize, delegate. Unwillingness to render humble service. Truly great leaders serve their team. Expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with what they know. Fear of competition from followers. Weak leaders surround themselves with weak people. Lack of imagination. Without it, you can't meet emergencies or create plans. Selfishness. Successful leaders give credit where it's due. Intemperance. Lack of self-control in any form destroys leadership. Disloyalty. Leaders who aren't loyal to their team, partners, and cause will fail. Emphasis of authority. Efficient leaders lead by encouragement, not fear. Emphasis of title. Truly competent leaders need no title to get respect. Principle 7. Decision. Hill studied 25,000 people who failed and discovered that lack of decision was near the top of the list of causes. Successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly, if at all. Unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them frequently. Here's a mind-blowing story from the book. The signing of the Declaration of Independence was the decision of 56 men who literally risked everything, their fortunes, their families, their lives, for a principle. They made that decision quickly and stood by it despite massive opposition. Many of them lost everything. Their homes were burned, their families were persecuted. Some died in poverty, but they never wavered on their decision. That one decision created the United States of America and changed human history. Why do people struggle with decisions? Hill identified the main cause. They care too much about what others think. They let opinions of friends, relatives, and strangers influence their choices. Think about this. How many brilliant ideas have died because someone said, "That will never work"? Ford was told the automobile would never replace horses. Edison was told the light bulb was impossible. The Wright brothers were told humans would never fly. They made their decisions and ignored the critics. Hill's rules for making decisions. Gather the facts you need, but don't use this as an excuse to delay. Set a deadline for making the decision. Make the decision by the deadline, even if you don't have perfect information. Take action immediately on your decision. Ignore the opinions of those not involved in your success. Stand by your decision unless facts prove it wrong. Here's a practical example. A woman wanted to start a bakery. She could gather information forever, more recipes, more market research, more business books, but she set a decision deadline, 30 days to decide yes or no. She gathered information for 30 days, made her decision to start, and took action immediately. Her bakery is now a local success story. If she'd waited for perfect information or listened to everyone's opinions, she'd still be planning instead of profiting. Principle 8. Persistence. This might be the most important principle of all. Hill says that persistence is to character what carbon is to steel. It's what makes you unbreakable. Let me share one of the most powerful stories in the entire book. R.U. Darby's uncle was gold mining in Colorado. He found a rich vein and was pulling out ore by the ton. Then suddenly the vein disappeared. He drilled and drilled but found nothing. Finally, he gave up, sold his equipment to a junk man for a few $100s, and quit. The junk man hired a mining engineer to examine the mine. The engineer calculated that the vein would continue just 3 feet from where Darby's uncle stopped drilling. The junk man resumed drilling and found millions of dollars in gold, just 3 feet from where Darby's uncle gave up. Darby's uncle quit because he didn't persist. That failure taught young R.U. Darby a lesson he never forgot. Never quit before you get what you want. Darby went into insurance sales and became one of the most successful salesmen in the country. Whenever he felt like quitting, he remembered being 3 feet from gold. The 8 symptoms of lack of persistence. Failure to recognize opportunity when it presents itself. Procrastination, waiting for the right time which never comes. Lack of interest in acquiring specialized knowledge. Indecision, the habit of passing the buck on all occasions. The habit of relying on alibis instead of creating definite plans. Self-satisfaction, little or no ambition to excel. Indifference, usually reflected in one's readiness to compromise. Blaming others for mistakes instead of taking responsibility. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before creating a working light bulb. When asked about his failures, he said, "I didn't fail 10,000 times. I successfully found 10,000 ways that don't work." How to develop persistence. Definiteness of purpose, knowing what you want, is the first step. Desire. It's easier to persist when you intensely want something. Self-reliance. Belief in your ability to carry out a plan strengthens persistence. Definiteness of plans. Organized plans encourage persistence. Accurate knowledge. Guessing instead of knowing destroys persistence. Cooperation. Support from others breeds persistence. Willpower. The habit of concentrating thoughts on building plans. Habit. Persistence is a direct result of habit. The mind absorbs and becomes part of daily experiences. Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times before someone bought his chicken recipe. Today, KFC operates in 150 countries. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter was accepted. Now she's one of the wealthiest authors in history. The difference between success and failure is often just one more attempt.
Principle 9. Power of the Mastermind. Hill defines the mastermind as coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between 2 or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. This might be the most underutilized principle in the entire book. When Andrew Carnegie built his steel empire, he had a mastermind group of over 50 men. None of them were steel experts when they started, but together they became the most powerful force in the industry. Carnegie said he paid these men millions in compensation, not for their time, but for their coordinated effort and harmonious cooperation. The 2 characteristics of the mastermind. Economic advantage. Surrounding yourself with experts in different fields multiplies your knowledge and capabilities. Psychic phase. When 2 or more minds work in harmony, they create a third, invisible force Hill calls the mastermind. Think about it. If you have an IQ of 120 and you bring together 5 people with specialized knowledge, you're not just adding intelligence, you're multiplying it. Here's a modern example. Steve Jobs wasn't a programmer, he wasn't an engineer, but he built a mastermind group that included Steve Wozniak, technical genius, Jony Ive, design master, and Tim Cook, operations expert. Together, they created Apple, now the world's most valuable company. How to create your mastermind group. Choose 3 to 5 people with skills or knowledge you need. Determine what you can offer them in return: money, expertise, connections, or equity. Establish a definite purpose for the group. Meet regularly, at least twice monthly, preferably weekly. Maintain perfect harmony. Any discord destroys the mastermind's power. Your mastermind group shouldn't all think like you. You want diverse perspectives, different expertise, complementary skills. A real estate investor created a mastermind with a tax attorney, a mortgage broker, a property inspector, and a successful investor with 20 years' experience. Meeting with them weekly helped him avoid costly mistakes, find better deals, and scale his business faster than he ever could alone. Hill warns, protect your mastermind group fiercely. One negative person can destroy the whole dynamic. Everyone must be committed to the group's success and maintain harmony. Principle 10. The Mystery of Sex Transmutation. This is probably the most misunderstood chapter in the book. Hill isn't talking about suppressing natural desires. He's talking about channeling powerful emotional energy toward achievement. Hill observed that the most successful people had highly developed sexual natures, but they learned to transmute that energy into creative and productive pursuits. The 3 constructive potentialities of sex: perpetuation of mankind, maintenance of health as a therapeutic agent, and transformation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation. Napoleon Hill explains, was inspired by his relationship with Josephine. When their relationship ended, so did his greatest achievements. Shakespeare wrote his greatest works driven by emotional passion. Beethoven composed his most moving music during periods of intense emotional experience. The 10 mind stimuli. Hill identified 10 stimuli that temporarily increase the vibration of thought: the desire for sexual expression, love, burning desire for fame, power, or money, music, friendship, a mastermind alliance, mutual suffering, autosuggestion, fear, and narcotics and alcohol, destructive, don't use. Sexual energy is the most powerful of these, but here's the key. Most people dissipate this energy through purely physical expression. Successful people channel it into creative endeavors, business building, artistic expression, problem solving, innovation. Hill noticed that highly successful people rarely achieved great things before age 40. Why? Because they hadn't yet learned to transmute their emotional energy. Once they mastered it, their most productive years began. Practical application. When you feel powerful emotions, whether sexual energy, love, desire, or even anger, don't just react. Channel that energy into your work. Use it to fuel your creativity, your persistence, your imagination. Artists understand this instinctively. They create their best work when emotionally charged. You can do the same in business, in building relationships, in achieving any goal. This isn't about denial, it's about direction. Take that powerful energy and aim it at your definite purpose.
Principle 11. The subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind works 24/7. It never sleeps. And it's either working for you or against you, depending on what you feed it. Hill teaches that the subconscious mind is the connecting link between the finite mind of man and infinite intelligence. It's the medium through which prayer is transmitted. It's where thought impulses are modified and translated into their spiritual equivalent. The 7 major positive emotions: desire, faith, love, sex transmuted, enthusiasm, romance, hope. The 7 major negative emotions: fear, jealousy, hatred, revenge, greed, superstition, anger. Your subconscious cannot tell the difference between positive and negative emotions. It simply acts on what you feed it most consistently. If you constantly think thoughts of fear and doubt, your subconscious accepts those as instructions and creates circumstances that match those thoughts. If you constantly think thoughts of faith and achievement, your subconscious works to create those realities. Here's a powerful story. A man was terrified of public speaking. For years before any presentation, he'd think, "I'm going to embarrass myself. People will think I'm stupid. I'll forget what to say." His subconscious mind accepted these thoughts as commands. So what happened? He did forget his words. He did embarrass himself. His fear became self-fulfilling prophecy. Then he learned about the subconscious mind. He started feeding it different thoughts. "I'm a confident speaker. My message helps people. I remember my points clearly." At first, his conscious mind resisted. "That's not true." But he persisted. Every morning and night, he repeated these statements with emotion. Within months, his speaking improved dramatically. Why? His subconscious mind accepted the new programming and began to work to make it reality. How to control your subconscious. Feed it only thoughts aligned with your goals through autosuggestion. Charge these thoughts with emotion. Emotion is the key that opens the door. Repeat daily. Consistency creates permanent change. Guard your inputs. What you read, watch, and who you spend time with all program your subconscious. Use your last thoughts before sleep. Your subconscious is most receptive then. Principle 12. The brain. Hill was writing in 1937, but his insights about the brain were remarkably ahead of his time. He compares the brain to both a broadcasting and receiving station for thought vibrations. Just as radio waves transmit through the air invisibly, thought vibrations transmit between minds. This explains phenomena like telepathy, sensing what someone is thinking, hunches, receiving ideas seemingly from nowhere, inspiration, sudden creative breakthroughs. The mastermind effect. Why groups create synergy beyond individual capability. The creative imagination is the receiving set through which ideas, plans, and thoughts flash into the mind. These can come from other people's thoughts, especially your mastermind group, your subconscious mind, infinite intelligence. Hill interviewed Thomas Edison about this. Edison said many of his inventions came to him as complete ideas, as if transmitted from an outside source. He would sit in a dark room, clear his mind, and tune in to receive inspiration. How to increase your brain's receptivity. Develop the 3 principles above: creative imagination, autosuggestion, and the subconscious mind. Anything that stimulates creative thought, regular meditation or quiet contemplation. Associate with positive, successful minds. Your brain picks up their vibrations. Raise your vibration through faith, love, sex transmutation, enthusiasm. This isn't mystical nonsense. Quantum physics now confirms that everything is energy vibrating at different frequencies. Your thoughts are energy. They do vibrate. They can influence and be influenced by other thought vibrations. When you've ever walked into a room and felt the tension or felt someone staring at you before seeing them, you've experienced this principle in action. Principle 13. The sixth sense. The final principle Hill calls the apex of the philosophy. The sixth sense is that portion of the subconscious mind referred to as creative imagination.
It's the receiving set through which ideas, plans, and thoughts flash into the mind. This is where hunches and inspirations come from. It's the point at which the finite mind of man contacts infinite intelligence. Hill himself practiced a unique technique. He created an imaginary council of 9 men he admired most: Ralph Waldo Emerson, Thomas Paine, Thomas Edison, Charles Darwin, Abraham Lincoln, Luther Burbank, Napoleon Bonaparte, Henry Ford, and Andrew Carnegie. Every night before sleep, he held an imaginary meeting with this council. He'd present problems and ask for advice. At first, it was just imagination, but over time, something remarkable happened. These imaginary counselors began taking on their own personalities. They'd answer in ways Hill hadn't consciously planned. They gave him insights and solutions he hadn't thought of. Was it really them, or was it Hill's subconscious mind, having studied these men extensively, recreating how they'd think and respond? Hill didn't know, but he didn't care because the solutions worked. How to develop your sixth sense. Master the previous 12 principles first. The sixth sense comes as a result. Create your own invisible counselors, people you admire, living or dead. Hold nightly meetings before sleep when your subconscious is most receptive. Present problems and ask for guidance. Pay attention to hunches and impressions throughout the day. Act on your hunches when they align with your definite purpose. Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's, said his idea to franchise McDonald's came as a sudden flash of inspiration. One moment it wasn't there, the next moment it was complete in his mind. Phil Knight, founder of Nike, had a sudden realization during a morning run that athletic shoes could be manufactured in Japan for less and sold in America. That single hunch created a billion-dollar empire. Hill warns, the sixth sense doesn't develop instantly. It comes gradually as you master and apply the other principles. But once developed, it becomes your greatest asset, a direct connection to infinite intelligence. The 6 fears that hold you back. Before we wrap up, Hill dedicates significant space to the 6 basic fears that destroy success. Let's confront them head-on. Number 1, the fear of poverty. Manifests as indifference, doubt, worry, overcaution, procrastination. Symptoms: never having enough, constantly worrying about money, inability to make decisions involving money. Number 2, the fear of criticism. Manifests as self-consciousness, lack of initiative, lack of ambition, inferiority complex. Symptoms: caring too much what others think, conforming to avoid judgment, playing small. Number 3, the fear of ill health. Manifests as hypochondria, lack of exercise, susceptibility to illness, self-coddling. Symptoms: excessive focus on symptoms, seeking sympathy, inventing ailments. Number 4, the fear of loss of love. Manifests as jealousy, fault-finding, gambling. Symptoms: checking up on partner constantly, being possessive, pushing people away. Number 5, the fear of old age. Manifests as slowing down prematurely, apologizing for age, killing off initiative. Symptoms: thinking you're too old to start something new, dwelling on limitations. Number 6, the fear of death. Manifests as obsessive thoughts about dying, lack of purpose, worry. Symptoms: not living fully because focused on dying, making fear-based decisions. Hill says these 6 fears are nothing more than states of mind, and states of mind are subject to control and direction. The antidote: fill your mind with faith, courage, and purpose. You can't hold 2 contradictory emotions simultaneously. When faith is present, fear cannot be.
All right, We've covered a massive amount of information, but information without action is worthless, so here's your immediate action plan. Today, right now, write your definite purpose. Be specific, exact amount of money, exact date, what you'll give in return. Read it aloud twice, once right now with emotion, once before bed tonight. Identify your burning desire. What do you want so badly you'd persist for years? This week, create your mastermind group. Identify 3 to 5 people who can help you. Reach out to them. Acquire specialized knowledge. Buy one book or course on your field. Start learning. Make one major decision, something you've been postponing. Decide now. This month, develop your organized plan. Write out specific steps toward your goal. Practice autosuggestion daily, morning and night without fail. Transmute your energy. Channel emotions into productive work. Take persistent action, even when you don't feel like it, especially then. Remember, Andrew Carnegie's challenge to Napoleon Hill was to discover whether there was a success formula that anyone could use. Hill's research proved there was. But here's the catch: you must actually use it. Reading this summary changes nothing. Applying these principles changes everything. Thomas Edison applied them and created the light bulb, phonograph, and motion pictures. Henry Ford applied them and revolutionized transportation. Andrew Carnegie applied them and became one of the richest men in history. They had no special advantages. Most came from poverty. What they had was burning desire, definite purpose, organized plans, persistence, faith. You have access to the same formula, the same principles, the same power. The question isn't whether it works, the question is, will you use it? Think back to that moment in 1908, a young journalist sitting across from the world's richest man. 60 seconds to make a decision that would consume 20 years of his life. Napoleon Hill said yes. That decision led to this book. That book changed millions of lives, and today it reached you. Now it's your turn to make a decision. Will you apply these principles? Will you write your definite purpose and read it twice daily? Will you persist when others quit? Will you think and grow rich? The answer is in your hands. If you found value in this summary, smash that like button, subscribe for more book breakdowns, and drop a comment telling me which principle resonated most with you. Your success story starts now. Let's make it legendary.